Hello everyone, it is Wizaldo or Wesley, and today I have got a very interesting video coming at you. Today I'm going to be doing a video on how I think the best way to improve with a partner is. Now you can do the method I'm about to show alone, but it is a little bit better with a partner just because the input you're going to get is going to be a little bit more wide. You're going to have a wider range of what you might hear, differing opinions, things like that. Now this method is all about getting better by knowing how your opponent's deck plays, and that is done by showing your opponent your hand and your hand to your opponent. Typically in person you might just lay out your hand and talk out your turn to your opponent pretty clearly, but in this method we're going to be sharing our screens on Discord to each other so we can see each other's hand and kind of explain to the other person how we go. Now today I'm going to be joined by my close friend Danny. We went to high school together and he does not know much about the game. I have him playing into my Boa Hancock deck with this yellow Luffy deck. These deck lists might not be in the description, we'll see, but I just want to do an all-rounder deck list for him on yellow Luffy. I think it's a pretty easy deck to play and a really good introductory deck, and I will be playing my Boa Hancock deck because this is one of the decks that I'm trying to get better at, and it is a pretty losing matchup at times to the yellow Luffy deck, so I wanted to test that out. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of what this video is going to be. It's all going to be all about how to improve and how to do this open hand improvement. I'll be showing it off in person and kind of showing you how I'm going to be doing this with a person who might be newer to the game, and in person with somebody who might be as skillful as you or even maybe more skillful. This is going to be a really good method to pick up on ways to improve. So I highly recommend it, and if you have any questions feel free to include them in the description. But yeah, before we hop into kind of the game plan and the introduction of Danny, I wanted to call out that I'm doing a giveaway on Twitter, so if you like free cards, check that out. And if I hit 1k subs on YouTube, I will be doing a face reveal and bumping up the things I'm giving away in that giveaway. So if you like free stuff, again, just enter it. I don't even care if you unfollow me on it afterwards. It's all about trying to spread some positivity and get free cards out to people who might want them. Anyways, I'm gonna hop into the game with Danny now and do a little bit of an introduction. All right, we're in that game now. I'm going to be playing against yellow Luffy, like I said, and this is Danny. Everyone say hi to Danny.
Hi.
Hopefully he came through pretty decently there. And yeah, so I'm going to kind of just explain to you as we go. I'm going to play the losing matchup here. I'm going to go first and kind of explain as I go how I'm gaining knowledge from this, even as I'm playing against somebody who is objectively less experienced than me. I'm not going to say worse, but I do kind of mean worse.
You can say worse. It's okay.
Okay. But yeah, I'll take first. I will explain kind of how as we go why that's worse, but Boa doesn't have a really great even curve. There are some cards in the deck that make going first a little bit easier, but generally it's an even curve that you want to go with. Sorry, there are not a lot of odd curve cards for Boa. So yeah, so in your hand you can see it kind of on the recording setup right now. We can see his. It's a little bit blurry, so sorry. You see you have a turn 1 play into a turn 2 play. Generally, I will say a turn 1 play into a turn 2 play is really good, especially when you can search a turn 3 play off of the turn 1 play. So I will encourage you to keep this hand, especially because it also lets you see one of the big bodies in your deck that's really important for closing out the game into Boa. That's that Captain Kid you see, and then the 1 cost event, which gives your leader unblockable and also lets you counter out. I personally have a horrible hand for going first. I have a ton of top end. I have a 6 cost. I have 2 6 costs, a 4 cost, and a 2 9 costs. So I'm gonna mulligan this and get rid of it. Hopefully I draw into some better stuff. I do see, just a heads up, one of my best openers, Hiyori into Gorgon Sisters. And this is one of the reasons why playing against somebody who might be worse than you is really important, because being able to articulate why my deck is losing or why my deck is doing better is really important. You need to understand that in order to understand the matchup. Now I'm gonna coach you through this turn a little bit, Danny. You're definitely gonna want to search and grab that 6 cost, the 6 cost Robin, because that's going to be your turn 3 play. You're going to have a really nice curve into this matchup, and honestly, if everything goes well and you kind of play to the best of your ability, you could win this just based off of curve. All right, and I'd put honestly the Nami above the Kid. You probably won't see these, but for all we know, you could loop around if this game goes really long, and you're going to want to see your counter before you see another one of your kids, and then here you can just pass. All right, I'm not in a hot spot because I don't have a great turn 2 play. I do have the Hiyori, which lets me take a life. I'm going to take the bottom life. I always take the bottom life because the top life, like, statistically could be better. And then I will put a Gorgon Sister into the top life. And what Gorgon Sister does is I can reveal 3 Kuja Pirates or Amazon Lily cards and give 1 Don to each of my characters and leader. It's a very, very strong card to get out early. It is the biggest priority on Boa to get out early. So that's why I did that play. And like I said before, being able to articulate that is one of the reasons that this setup, where I have to explain as I go, is really, really important. So now you can think about, Danny, and people in general, when you kind of hear something like that, can think about, all right, how should I be playing to mitigate that? Now here, I'm going to swing 6 just because it's the amount of Don I have, but I can also see that Danny here has a bunch of 2Ks in his hand that I'm going to want to get rid of. So Danny can play around that, and because I also articulate that to him, that's another really important part of this open hand setup, is being able to tell the other person why you want them to play a certain way so they can play around that. So Danny, I'd actually encourage you here to just take it. It's not really worth it. You have 6 cards, but you also see I have a pudding. So play around that. You're going to want to probably use this trigger for sure. And keep your hand at 6 or 5 for the ongoing future. Playing on curve will get that done for you. Just a heads up though, you're going to want to play on curve and keep that hand size a little bit lower than you would normally want it to be. So countering might be a little more important just because you know that I have a pudding. All right, and then I'll pass here. So you know this turn that I put something into my life that I want to trigger out. So if you just play that Basil, which is the on curve play here that I recommend, you're good. Here, because you know I have a good trigger in life, it is 100% worth it to not swing at my life and just pass. Because in your hand, you also have a Nico Robin. Can you read that 6 cost for me? Can you highlight it?
6 cost Nika.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your opponent has 3 or more life, trash one of the top cards of your opponent's life.
Yeah, so that's going to trash the card I just put into my life. That's going to be a really good play for you. Honestly, I probably should have played around it a little bit, but you'll definitely want to just drop that. And then you can just pass here and not give me that trigger that I really, really want. Now, knowing that you have that Nico Robin now, I could pudding you. I don't think that's a great idea. I think instead, I just Boa and arrange like this. I'll put a Sengoku Searcher. Yeah, no, I'm gonna put the, because I already have a pudding, so I'm not too concerned about getting another one, but I'd love to Sengoku search, and if I get a trigger out of life because you swing, I'm gonna want to draw into that Boa Hancock. So I'll draw one off of my leader effect, and then hopefully, because I'll get a trigger, right, off of one of your swings, I'll draw into this Boa Hancock on my turn 1, or my next turn. Okay. So I'm gonna return it like this, and then give a Don to my leader. I'll give 2 Don to my leader just because I don't have really anything else to do. And a 7. Here you can think about taking. You know I have that pudding, and taking puts you down to 4 life. They're not something you should really be worried about. So I would counter here just because it puts you at 4 cards, but you draw into a 5th card and you can just play on curve after that. So you don't really have to worry about putting if you counter out here using a 2K and a 1K. You might just have to use 2 2Ks, unfortunately, but
yeah, if I want to play the Robin out, I do.
Yeah, I probably should have been looking at your hand a little bit more there. I don't think 2 2Ks is horrible. You run 12 2Ks in that deck, but it does. If I were to be just normally playing against you, that would tell me that you have either a very high value 1K in your hand or only 2Ks, which might change how I swing in the future. Now that you've pitched 2 2Ks though, I can kind of assume you're really low on 2Ks in hand. And because I see your hand, I know you only have 1 left. So I'll probably swing 5s at you from now on, or 7s, just to make it so I get those 1Ks as well. Because at this point in the game, I'm not really too worried about getting you low on hand size. I just want to get the high value cards out of your deck, or out of your hand. So this turn you just play on curve, trash that life.
Oh, right.
And you get rid of that very, very high value card for me. It's a very rough thing to happen for my deck. And then you just swing all your cards at life. I mean, at this point, it's like you can play aggressive just because you know I don't have something good at there. I'll take this. Thankfully, I get a trigger, like I said I was going to. It's not super worth it to swing with your leader here. You should have probably swung with your leader first there. That way, because you see I have a 6K blocker, the Boa blocker, you can expect me to block with it for the second swing and not the first swing. So swinging with your leader there would have probably been a little bit better. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. You can still swing with your leader, but I'm just going to block it, just a heads up. Yeah.
Okay. Pass.
Yeah, all right. So here I probably Kuma. I know I have a pudding at the life there, so I'm going to Sengoku first to make it so I don't draw into that pudding. And I don't see a ton of really high value targets here for grabbing off of Sengoku. Kuma's pretty nice, but I think Boa is a little bit better because I need something to pitch. Although I could always pitch pudding. But I'm going to actually grab the Kuma and then play the Kuma. Normally, if you couldn't see my hand here, you'd be like, okay, sweet. He just got rid of his only Kuma, but you can see my hand, so you know I have a ton of healing in hand. I'm going to pitch the pudding, and then I can use Ran to give it Don to my leader. And I'm actually going to start by swinging at life here. I have a 5k swing, but I don't know if I necessarily want to use it, because next turn when I start dropping my Boa Hancocks, the 9 cost, I need to attach a Don to my leader in order to get my leader effect off. So here you have a 6 coming at you. You have a ton of life. I got rid of my pudding. You know I have no pudding in hand, and you don't have a ton of cards in hand. So it's now really, really worth it for you to take this life. Nice, and that's actually a really good draw for you, because you'll be able to trash 2 of my life now, turn to turn, and you're still really, really high on life. So I would probably swing here, because I also know you didn't draw into a counter card. I think it's fine to take here too. Falling down to 3 isn't a huge emergency, and you do get another blocker off of it, which is really nice. So you definitely play this trigger, and then I just kind of have to pass.
I probably play the kid out, right?
Absolutely. Playing the kid here is going to be amazing. It's going to slow me down a ton. I'm not getting the triggers I need, and I probably start playing defensive around 2 life. And that's a really, really high value target for me as well. That's my 9 cost Boa Hancock. You'll see it come out next turn to kind of see what it does a little more in depth, but it's very similar to your kid, probably a little bit stronger, but it is leader locked. So, all right. And I think you just swing out with all your characters here. You probably start with your leader again. And I will give you a 1k here to stay at high life.
Why would I not go for the Ran here?
Because you'd have to take a life from it, and it's not good for you. All right, and then I 2k out of this. I want to stay at high life. I know I can heal next turn because you didn't swing into my Ran. And I keep my Boa Hancock up, the blocker one, so that I can make you take a life. That's just a heads up. The game plan for that is to make you take a life. I would pitch the Basil here because I haven't been swinging into the one you already have. And that, again, the kid here is a really high value target. So just a heads up, I didn't explain this before. The Boa, the 4 cost Boa blocker I have on my field. So when you KO that, you have to take a life to your hand. If I do that, that is the turn where you're going to want to clear my board. All right, this turn, my plan is always the same. It's to drop this 9 cost Boa. It makes me gain a life, and it's going to have you take a life card to your hand, similar to how swinging into my characters would work. And then I can get my leader effect online because I have Ran. Ran, honestly, there, not a bad target to swing into, but if you had, I could have played in a way that put you to 1 life or just 0 life soon, which would have been really rough for you. So I'll swing out here with all of my swingable characters because I want to put you on the defense, because you have a ton of cards in hand. One of the things I might think about doing, and that I am currently thinking about doing, is swinging into your Nico Robin. It reduces your board by a lot and kind of forces you to give me more counter cards, because for all I know, you could have a way to have lethal this next turn. So possibly making it so you have to get rid of cards here to defend your bodies. If you have lethal with them, is gonna help me survive a little bit longer.
And would I not block here?
Honestly, here I would counter if you have a nice 1k to use. You don't, so I might block. I do not. And you know I have a 7k. My only other swingable body is a 7k, and you know you can get worth from countering out of the 7k rather than the 6k. It's in practice really no different, but this generates a little more value math-wise for you. So while it's not really a huge difference, it could matter. Here, just because I see your hand, I know you only have 2ks, I will be swinging at life in order to get a lot of value from if you want to counter, if you don't. One of the things I would think about is
I don't want to burn 2Ks though.
Exactly. So I either put you to 0 life this next turn. I have a way to put you to 0 life just because of my Boa blocker, or you counter out here and give up a ton of your counter and have to think about going for game a different way. So one of the things you need to think about now is, do I have a way to make me essentially take 4 damage? You have 4 swings out on board and a way to burn a life for free. You see how much counter I have? So let's say, if you could see my life here, it'd be a lot easier, but there's no way to do it like this. Let's say you burn my life, then you have to deal 3 damage and you have 1 extra Don and a way to make your leader unblockable. So let's count it as 5 damage just because I have the Boa Hancock. So that accounts for 1 damage. Then you have to get basically all of your swings through. It's really not likely. So I would actually counter out here, but leave the blocker in your, oh wait, you can't leave the blocker in your hand. Sorry. I would counter out here to stay at higher life because you might have to think about blocking and countering out just because I'll probably go for game next turn. Yeah, and that's purely because you know you can't go for game, and within these next like 2 or 3 turns, the game will end. You can kind of count on it. We're at the point in the game where it really matters. So I'll end turn, just a heads up, because you can't really read my cards all that well. Perfume Femur, what that does is I pay 2, and essentially just because I'm paying 2 Don and getting plus 2k power on something, so it's kind of free. It makes it so you cannot activate blocker when the thing with 7 warlords that I attach it to attacks. So just think about, I have have something that makes something unblockable, use your blocker before I use that, essentially.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, and just a little more guidance through your turn. I do have a way to make it so you have to take a life. So if you see me use that, swing at my Ran as well, because after that, you don't have to take a life. You have a very interesting turn ahead of you. You have the option to Stussy, which is a blocker.
Yeah.
Or you can Kid, which is going to put a little more aggression on me. If you're gonna want to put aggression on me, you want to think about whether or not I can end the game next turn, because if you do that and I fall low, I'm going to want to end the game. But if you don't,
yeah,
I'm going to want to swing at board.
I'm thinking it would be better to try and prolong the game and give myself a better defensive position than try and go for game and not be able to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely correct. You need to think about replacing a character though, unless you just want to get the value from that Stussy as just a blocker, which I think is fair. But you probably want to swing with the Basil first and then replace it with the Kiku. Because Stussy plays out a card with trigger for free, a 5 or less, I think. So it's a really solid way to get a wider board. And if you'd seen it earlier, it would have been really nice. This is just an all-rounder deck that I put together for you, and I've been playing it too.
So do I swing at leader or do I swing at
You probably swing at leader, because if you swing at Ran here, you do have to take a life if I let it go through.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
And I will take here. I have a lot of life and I'm not too worried, and I'm not going to use the trigger from that.
Okay, and then I would play out Stussy and then I'd pull Basil off the field.
Yeah, Basil is just going to go to your trash from this.
Yeah.
But you have an extra blocker, so now I need to do 5 swings through to you. So now you have 3 down up, right? And you're in a really rough spot because you're low in cards in hand, but you just got rid of 2 bricks, so you're in a pretty good spot. But one of your cards does have a counter with a cost on it, so you definitely want to leave up 1 Don to try and survive here.
Yeah, but that's also, isn't it also kind of obvious that if I'm holding 1 Don in hand with this deck, that's what I have?
But it's also like, you should be kind of fine with that, because your opponent, like, I mean, you leave 1 Don up in every deck. Not a whole lot
that can be done.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you know?
I understand.
So here I would high-key recommend swinging a 5 with your leader, but somebody in the comments could correct me. Swinging with 5 makes it so if I block with Boa Hancock, your 6 and your 9 go through, which could put me down to 0 life. You know I have enough to counter out of the 6. But if I want to go for game, I probably want to make you take the blocker away from me or make you clear my board. If you go down to 1 life, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 bodies I have to get through, and I can guarantee that 1 gets through, and I can do the math and make sure the other ones get through. So you're in a really rough spot. The game is basically over at this point, but I would recommend swinging a 5 here. You probably get rid of that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to bait me here, essentially, just block with my Boa Hancock. I don't think that's a bad play. If I were to block with the Boa Hancock here, you could clear my board. I'm going to counter out. This does actually work a little bit in my favor too, if I think ahead really far, because I'm thinking, okay, I'll counter out of your 5 and your 6 and then block the 9 wherever the 9 goes and force you to take a life. So I might have been a little bit misguiding you there, but we'll see. So next I'd swing an 8 with the Nico Robin. And I'll take this, no trigger unfortunately, and then I would swing the 9 with the Kid, maybe at the Kuma, maybe at my life. I have to really think here about what I want to do this coming turn. If I'm going to have you swing at the Kuma, swinging at Kuma probably puts me in a worse spot because it's going to make it much harder for me to go for game.
Yeah.
If you swing at Kuma,
I'd rather do that.
And I have to, I can counter out here, and if I counter out, I need to do the Don math. So you counter out of a 7, you block a 7, you take a 10, you block a 10. Honestly, I probably block here and force you to take a life. And that's really rough. That's really rough to get out of life. I feel like you've seen all of your kids here. You've seen 3.
I have.
That's pretty rough. Honestly, that's just unlucky. So by forcing you to block, I kind of have game depending on how you play. Oh man, that's rough too. You get rid of the Kid. If you had a way to restand Don, you definitely would have won here, or you definitely could have survived. I don't think playing the Scorpion Sister is really all that valuable for me. So I'm just gonna swing. I know you don't have any counter in hand, so you have to either block this 5k or take the life. Actually, no, this is worth it. Sorry. I forgot I have a way to assign all of the Don, or nearly all of the Don.
Yeah.
So this lets me swing really wide. So I swing a 6. You probably have to counter out of it. But this, by Gorgon Sistering, I get my Kuma up to an 8. I think this might be also a little bit VM. Now that I did the actual math, I was kind of counting Gorgon Sister with my math. Then I just do this. Actually, yeah, because I misplayed with Gorgon Sister, you could actually win here. If I play correctly, you don't. Yeah, no, I actually misplayed by playing the Gorgon Sister. I need to do that a little bit differently, I think. Now I swing at life, you block. Yeah, I have to swing at your board now, actually. And I know you don't have any counter events, so you either block this or I get it. And then I either guarantee that you block this or I get the body. Honestly, letting me take it there wasn't the wrong play, just because a 7k is better than a 6k, even if it's a blocker. You can always swing with blockers. They're not like restricted to just doing that. Now I'm in a little bit of a risky spot. I have a ton of counter in hand, all things considered, but you can kid and get me down to 0, which is really, really scary for me. All right, and now you have a 7 and 2 6s, which I know I can counter out of, but this is your best play. That's probably your best play.
I wouldn't swing at board.
No, you probably just want to go for game here. Although, now that I think about it, you could swing in a way that forces me to take, swing in a way that forces me to counter, swing in a way that forces me to take. I don't think the math is there, because I have 4, 8, 10, take it, 10k counter. Actually, you might have had it. Sorry, I might have misguided you again. But you guys kind of get how you're supposed to be playing and kind of guiding people to get better. By talking out loud and saying, all right, this is the play you should do, and then seeing that play happen, I'm able to say, okay, actually, I think that was the wrong play now that I think about it. But I think this like kind of shows how running through these practice games explains how to do these correctly and explains how I can learn from coaching somebody who's maybe a little bit worse than me. So if there's an undo button, that's what we would do. We can set up the simulation, but if you want to try and swing for game, actually go a 5. You know I have 2Ks, so go a 5. So I counter out with a 2K. That gets a lot of value for you. Then go for a 7, an 8, but that's okay.
Oh, whoops.
And then you'd go for a 6. We're gonna say this is your game actually, Danny, because I misguided you. There was a way to don math better, but yeah, you kind of understand how to play now. I hope how you play your deck a little bit better. Playing on curve is really important. But yeah, I'm not gonna BM. That's your game. I'll concede. But yeah, good game, Danny. I hope you had fun. I hope you kind of understand how to play a little bit better. It's really hard to don math. I mean, that's something I struggle with, and doing the simulation with you has kind of shown me how much I struggle with don math. I mean, in my last video, somebody commented that I was doing my don math wrong, and I was like, no, I don't think I was. And then I thought about it, and that person was absolutely right. So not only does showing how to do these kind of open hand games show you how you should play your opponent's deck better, but it also shows me how I should be playing my own deck better and what skills I need to be working on in order to get better at the game. Anyways, I'm gonna go kind of do an outro. Thank you for joining me, Danny. I do really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, that was fun. I feel like I learned a lot, especially because it's not, One Piece isn't the only card game I play, but a lot of the mechanics and sort of the reps of ordering and thinking about ordering and just the way that your mind works are similar across multiple trading card games. So that's also valuable.
Sounds good. You go have fun for the rest of the night. Thank you for helping me out.
Of course.
I hope you all really enjoyed that. I know it was a little cringe at times when I was kind of over-explaining something or misguiding Danny, but the point of this video was to more try and show people the benefits of playing with an open hand and explaining to the opponent how you want to play and how thwarting certain plans are possible with their deck. Not to show how to improve at the game necessarily, to show you how you can improve on your own. So if I did make some mistakes, feel free to call them out in the comments, but I do hope you realize that hopefully those mistakes weren't detracting from the actual content of what I was trying to make a point of in this video. Anyways, I'm gonna kind of leave it at that. Just to call out one more time, I am doing a Twitter giveaway, so check that out. My Twitter will be down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.